Kevin Bacon back at playing the same character that he played in Wild Things.
Well, it's his character from Wild Things plus Daniel Craig from Knives Out. He is so deliciously over the top. This movie is just reveling in its cheesy goodness.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined by fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
I just love movies that take place so long ago and bygone. What's that? The year I was born? Oh, really?
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, like this is a movie that, I don't know about you, it made me feel really fucking old. Yeah. Like, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. I look in the mirror every day, and like, I'm sure you all folks who are viewing us on video, you know, can see some of these like, you know, gray hairs here. I mean, my camera does a fairly decent job of hiding them and my microphone in front of my face, but every day it's like, oh, there's another one. There's another 20. So yeah, when you watch a movie which is supposed to be quote unquote vintage, and it's 1985, specifically, I think 1985 and this particular time of the year was when you and I were both born. Like, I'm pretty sure Night Stalker Reign of Terror was happening during your birth month, and then I think they caught him on my birth month. I think it was September, if I remember correctly. I think it was like literally like right after I was born. But yeah, this week we're going to be diving into the world of 1985 and the world of Maxxxine.
No,
new
Brian.
movie. No. What?
Maxxxine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to say it with the three X's,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
I got to have the three X's going. Maxxxine. Yes, the new movie from Ty West that closes out his X trilogy. Cause yeah, you know, that's it. I'll be honest with you. We have, I don't think we did any reviews of either Pearl or X. I don't think we did. We talked about Pearl.
Which is kind of odd. You know, we're jumping in with this one. It's kind of like if we just reviewed Return of the Jedi. You know?
Yeah, it's true. That's true. But this one, I mean, I liked it, but I've got thoughts. John, what about you?
Oh, yeah. Because I saw it twice, and I thought both times seeing it, I'm like, this movie is a chaotic mess full of gore and film masturbatory cheese, but I think that's why I love it.
I'm in the same boat there. There are clearly problems. With the movie, and I'm not gonna, like, there have been some people who say, oh my god, this is the greatest horror movie. I hate that, by the way. I don't know about you, John. I hate it when, you know, a popular movie, and it seems to always be an A24 release. A24 puts out a movie, and suddenly everyone and their mother thinks like, oh my god, this is the greatest horror movie of all time. It's like, dude,
give it a minute. It's like wine. Let it breathe.
Yeah, it's like, I'm pretty sure you have to wait a little bit before you can say it's the greatest horror film of all time. My rule of thumb, honestly, John, is 10 years. 10 years. If I can remember that movie in 10 years' time, and I get a feeling out of it, then yeah, maybe it is the greatest horror film of all time. Or at least in that pantheon of great horror movies. You know? Like, I already know that Hereditary is in that boat, a modern film, you know, because I think it's I don't think we're coming. I think we're past 10 years in that film.
Ari Aster's a hack prod, but anyways.
Okay. No. Okay. That whatever. I'm just making a point that movies that kind of resonate past 10 years can kind of fit that. But I've noticed that every time an A24 film comes out, it's nothing against A24. I got nothing against them. But like, Jesus Christ, every single time, 5 minutes after, oh my God, it's so good. It's the greatest one of all time. And Maxxxine is good, but it's not the greatest horror film of all time.
No, it's I think that there's going to be two camps with this movie, because I don't even think it's going to be people that like horrors compared to don't. I think it was really going to come down to people that love movies about movies and pop culture, and those that don't like that so much. If you're into movies about movies in general, how movies are made, pop culture, like this movie, you're going to adore this, because it's another Ty West love letter to, cinema as an art form.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate Ty West's passion that rings true in his entire X trilogy. I don't think I mentioned this on the show at all, but just in our conversations, I've said that I really didn't care for X. Like, don't get me wrong, it's okay. It wasn't really my cup of tea. It just wasn't. Maybe it's because I immediately thought of like Motel Hell and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'm like, okay, it's kind of played out. But I love and still love Pearl. Like, oh my God, absolute beautiful film. And it's my personal favorite in the X trilogy. But what I got out of watching all three of these is just that you can tell, as you said, John, that Ty West loves movies, and he probably is cut from the same stone as us, like a gravitating towards those underground, sleazy type of horror movie schlock stuff. We've said multiple times in this podcast that, we review a lot of crap sometimes, but we love it. We love the crap, except for Neil Breen. Fuck that guy. But I mean, we love crappy horror movies. We love the sleazy shit. That's our bread and butter. And clearly Ty West is a creature of that too.
Yeah, fuck Neil Breen and his sex tiger. But
sex tiger.
Well, it's Brian, since you mentioned it, I will say that I think Maxxxine is my favorite, but Pearl is easily the best of the three.
Now, why do you say that Maxxine's your favorite and Pearl is the best?
I had a blast with the 80s feel to Maxxxine, but I can't say constructively top to bottom that it is a better film than Pearl. Pearl is across the board on all aspects of filmmaking a better film than Maxxxine. Because like I said, Maxxxine, boy, is this an ADD mess of a film. But again, as I said at the top of the show, I think that's what I like so much about it. But yeah, it does not have the tangible structure or lasting power of Pearl. But that doesn't mean that I don't like it more, though.
I can understand that. I mean, for me, I put Pearl up way up top here. And it's kind of a lot of what you said, I mean, structurally, it's a better film. The characters in them, I think, are more fleshed out. Even the minor characters are more fleshed out in Pearl than they are in for me at least, Maxxxine or X. X to a lesser degree. X, a lot of those side characters, you do get a bit more of their backstory. For me at least, I love the cinematography. I love the set design. I love the color palette. I love the editing in Pearl way more than I do in Maxxxine. Maxxxine, for me, what I love is the character of 1985 Los Angeles.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Let's be honest here. That's the big character here.
Los Angeles is a character in this film, just in the same way, Tarantino jerked himself off to 1960s Los Angeles in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yeah, oh no, 100%. But it's nice because, like, I don't know about you, like I was born in Orange, California. Okay, so that means that for a time, and I mean about 5 years, I lived in Southern California in the 80s. And I have very few memories of it. But from what I do remember, it fits. Okay? It fits a lot of that attitude, the set design, the costumes, the way people talked. It fits a lot of that. I don't have a ton of memories from that time period, but the ones I do, it's like like literally a puzzle piece fitting. Like that's how close and how good of a job that Ty West did in trying to make 1985 Los Angeles. Now, granted, I was like 2 or 3 at the time, so you know, I didn't see the sleazy shit. Wasn't purview to that, but clearly, you know, you knew what that stuff was, you know.
So you kind of had flashes away somebody who like wakes up after blacking out drunk, like you like, but in an infant state, like you're like, hey, wait, I kind of remember that. What? And you get flashes in your memory of,
you know what? It's a strange thing. It's like, because clearly, you know, living in Southern California, you obviously like drove these places at least at some time, you know. And I mean, for me, my biggest memory is I remember I used to get it was probably like my first haircut ever. And it was in a salon that was literally plastered with nothing but Hollywood, Los Angeles, like deco shit all over the place. Like someone took all of the movie posters from the 70s and early 80s and plastered them everywhere. And that's like one of my core memories. It's a first memory of mine. And I'm like, that's aligns very much with what we see in Maxxxine, 1985 Los Angeles. Very celebrity obsessed culture.
And there's something to be said, or rather to be known about Hollywood is, you know, it's not going into Hollywood studios in Walt Disney World. It is a cesspool of, imagine a combination of like New Orleans, like the main drag bars there, plus the Times Square, but the one from Escape from New York. And that is the streets of Hollywood. It's not, you know, movie sets that you're walking through all the time. It's, yeah, Ty West, especially in the 80s, Ty West did a pretty good job of showing just how grungy and gross everything is.
And also the fear. Like, yeah. It's no surprise that he picked this particular time period to explore. I mean, you have in this movie an exploration of the Satanic Panic, which, great. Like, so good. It ties perfectly in with this. Satanic Panic, and then the Night Stalker, which our Gen Z and young millennial folk might not know who the hell the Night Stalker is. John, do you want to educate them on who the Night Stalker was?
Well, the Night Stalker was a young man, a hopeless romantic named Richard Ramirez, who stalked the Knights of Los Angeles, breaking into people's house, forcing them to commit sex acts on him, torturing them, and murdering them. He somehow was able to do this without being caught for months and months on end, and has quite the horrific body count. But he was eventually, as they always do, leave somebody behind that gives a image of this person. And one day in the middle of the day, he was riding a bus when everybody noticed that it was him, and a citizen's arrest was done as the police were able to arrive and arrest Richard Ramirez. And he is one of the only people who didn't even fake remorse, as he kind of marveled and reveled in the sadness of the families of his victims. Yeah, real pleasant feller there.
He was literally beat the shit out of by citizens. Like that's the thing. These people were under so much fear and terror during those months that when it became known that, like, hey, this guy's the Night Stalker, and they did the citizen's arrest, they literally were kicking the shit out of this guy. Like, and it's insane. But yeah, I mean, I distinctively remember my mom telling me, like, hey, you know, tell me about the Night Stalker and tell me about how living in Southern California at this time was terrifying because you were afraid to walk out at night. You didn't know. It was terrifying. And it's no surprise that, you know, Ty West picked these two things, the Satanic Panic and the Night Stalker, as the backdrop.
Well, I think it's kind of funny with the Satanic Panic. Like, we don't learn anything, do we? Because
no, we don't.
Yeah. Now it's, you know, all these immigrants are coming over to kill you, or QAnon says all the Democrats are eating babies, or, you know, all the liberals want to like turn your kids like trans and evil, and the Jews are replacing it. It's any number of scare tactics riddled with ignorance or purposeful or accidental ignorance that shapes the fear of our culture to control us a little bit better.
Yeah, and it's a thing that I've always said that these sort of if you want to call them what they are, basically mass hysteria, like that's what I call it, is mass hysteria, is fueled by a fear of the other and a fear of losing generational control.
It's Antifa. They're coming for us.
Yes. Yeah. It's losing generational control. That's 100% what it is. Satanic Panic, again, for those of you way too young to know what this was, there literally was a time period where, I kid you not, and this should not seem as much of a surprise as John very clearly labeled, you had parents groups and religious people who literally were saying that everything that was like rock and roll, that were horror movies and TV shows, that even board games like Dungeons and Dragons
and like Lord of the Rings.
Yes, Lord of the Rings. That these were tools of Satan, and that they were indoctrinating the children into being Satan's minions. I'm not making this up. This is quite literally what they believed. And they were, for a time, very prevalent all over the place. I blame Phil Donahue. That's the setting that Ty West gives us in this movie, and the character of Los Angeles in 1985. And then we get to some of our main characters. Now, I personally think that the characters, Maxxxine, Gus Fring's character.
I like they called him Gus Fring. Yeah.
Because he's Gus Fring and everything I see him in. I don't care who the fuck he is, what the fuck he's in. Even when he was in the Boys, like, oh, hey, it's Gus Fring.
Giancarlo Esposito or
Giancarlo Esposito.
So you mean also in like The Mandalorian?
Yeah, he's still Gus Fring. He always plays a villain. In this, he's not a villain, kind of.
Well,
and then, villains. Villain's a very flexible word we'd use in
this world, yeah.
In this world of 1985 Los Angeles. But and then Kevin Bacon back at playing the same character that he played in Wild Things. Did you catch that? Because I caught it. I'm just like, it's Kevin Bacon being an amplified version of his character from Wild Things.
Well, it's his character from Wild Things plus Daniel Craig from Knives Out. Yeah.
And he's a perv too. You gotta have both. You gotta have both. He's a character from Knives Out.
I love that. Yeah, he's like, if I'm gonna be in your movie, Ty, I want to chew the scenery as horrible as anybody could possibly imagine, and nobody could possibly chew the scenery more than me. Simon Prass. What was that? Oh, I didn't hear. You must have sneezed. But yeah, he is so deliciously over the top. Again, this movie is just reveling in its cheesy goodness.
Yeah, no, I think Kevin Bacon for me is the standout in this, because every scene that he is in, he knows 100% of what he's doing. Even spoilers, when he dies, he goes out with not bang, but a drip drip.
Yeah. Well, I do love the I guess, lack of a better way to describe it, Tarantino-esque style of casting, where this movie is about somebody who gets their big break in horror movies, and Kevin Bacon got his big start in Friday the 13th. So, to cast him to be in this movie, a guy who got his start in horror, I'm like, nice touch. Chef's kiss.
It would have been funny if he died not by again, spoiler alert, trash compactor in a junkyard, but instead getting like impaled through the neck.
Yeah.
That would have been like beautiful, because that's how he died in Friday the 13th.
One of the only scenes in horror movies that freaks me out, because like throat, like that part of the throat, that really bugs me. So that's one of the only times in like horror movies I can remember where I'm just like, I need to look away. I don't like, even though, sorry, Savini, but it looks really fucking fake. It still freaks me out.
Listen, for 1980 something, it was fine. And 1980. And 1980, it was fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And no one had ever seen anything like that before. But, that was, I think we used wax and latex to make that work. But yeah, Kevin Bacon, in my opinion, stole the show up until the point where he was crushed.
Well, Brian, can we just talk about, as I said, the structure and pacing of this movie, and we will be going into spoilers. This movie's been out for a couple weeks, so I hope you've seen it. If not, don't forget us. Go see it, but don't forget us. Come back and listen to us after you see it. I always think that's fun to hear other people's looks on things after you've seen a movie. But the opening of this movie, and the reason I'm going to say spoilers is it is from like the 1950s. It's like either 16 or 8 millimeter footage, doesn't matter which one, of Maxxxine as a little girl dancing, and you can hear her father saying, "You're going to be the head of the church," and she's like, "Really?" He's like, "Only if you want it," and makes her say, like, demand that she says with conviction, like, you never settle for any life you don't deserve. And it's like, oh, her dad's the bad guy. Like this, it's they gave it away right at the beginning of the movie. But just
no, I that is one of my problems with this movie, is that it's extremely obvious what is going on. Like even jumping forward to when every one of Maxxine's friends starts dying off, and they're all like, "I'm going to the party up at the Hollywood Hills with this producer."
To the party at the Hills.
Yeah, I'm going to some party with some producer at said Hollywood Hills. I'm like, that is going to lead to that person dying. And I wonder where the ending of this movie will be at. Could it possibly be at the party at the Hollywood Hills? And what do you know? It is. And what do you know? It's the dad. Yeah. Like, of course.
But with just the structure of this film. So I think we get first that scene, and then an opening or quote, and then Maxxine auditioning, and then opening credits, and then a montage of 1985, and then then the movie starts again, which eventually leads to this huge montage of Los Angeles. And I'm like, this movie's structure and pace is insane.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's at least in the beginning. Once the story actually starts getting going, you see less of that, and it does become more of a linear type of story. But I agree. Like Ty West is trying to hit you over the head so much with 1985 Los Angeles. And that's why I say, like, that is the biggest character in this film. And it shows through that opening sequence, through that montage of all of this. Like, we're being inundated with it right in the beginning. And yeah, after that, it's like, oh, okay, where do we go from here?
And the way to break this movie down, I think, is extremely easy. It's Maxxine, who, if you've seen the other movies, is Maxxine from X, and then played the old lady version that's not her and Pearl. But yeah, it's Maxxine from the first X movie. Gets a chance to be in a legitimate movie. She's a porn star, but she has a chance to go into a legitimate movie, i.e., a highbrow attempt at slasher horror movies. And in the process of trying to go legit, there's a mysterious man in black leather trying to do everything he can to sabotage her, kill off her friends. And this person's working with Kevin Bacon, who's the connecting piece, because we don't want you to know we don't want the audience to know who the man in leather is, but it's obviously her father. And then until we reach to our inevitable, pardon the pun, climax. So it's kind of, can she go legit? Can she make this movie with the whole world trying to stop her and a mysterious man, killing off all her friends left and right? It's kind of the premise of this film. I don't know if you have a synopsis of it, but
I don't have a synopsis prepared. But I mean, you in essence, you kind of laid it out. It's not the strongest plot. I mean, that's the one thing I will say about Maxxine. It is not the strongest plot. It is not anywhere near as deep as Pearl, in my opinion. It is not anywhere near as deep. I also think, though, and to contrast that, I do think that this is the logical conclusion for this character, for Maxxine Mink, for the person we were introduced to in X. And that's, I think, the one weird thing that people have to kind of wrap their heads around is like, we had Maxxine introduced in X, and then we jumped to Pearl, which is not her, right? It is not that character. It's still Mia Goth. She's still in the movie, but she's playing Pearl, who was in X as the old lady. So it's a weird thing where you'll be like, wait a minute, she wasn't in Pearl. So now it's like, well, what happened to Maxxine? But I think this is the logical conclusion for this character. This is the other half of that arc of where do you go from porn? And it opens up a lot of thoughts, and it does make you think a little bit about, the role of porn stars in the entertainment industry. And, do they kind of get trapped in their own success? And how do you get out of that to get legitimate success? And is adult work considered legitimate success? And why is it that adult work isn't considered legitimate success, but a horror film is? And it's like, but they're all part of the same disgusting slug ball that is Hollywood. But we're saying one is better than the other? There are some questions that do get raised by this movie that I think, if they were trying to go in deeper, really could have made this movie on par with, say, Pearl.
No pun intended with going in deeper. But yeah, no, I don't even necessarily mean this as a negative, but this movie is all style over substance.
Oh, yeah. No, totally.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to think too hard about this. I mean, there's a scene where a man dressed as Buster Keaton gets his balls stomped to shreds.
That scene is amazing. I want to play the scene out. So again, spoilers if you haven't seen this movie. But so Maxxine is leaving her one of her jobs, which is she does kind of a peep show type deal. And this is, of course, in the midst of her friend again saying, I'm going to go to a party at the Hollywood Hills and die, because that's going to happen. And while you've got the whole Night Stalker shit happening, in the background of news reports talking about it. And one of these guys dressed like Buster Keaton is like trying to pretend to mug her or kill her or whatever. We don't really know. And yeah, as an audience, you're just going like, you can't get one up on this woman. Like, this woman survived basically the creepy old lady Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So you're like, what's going to happen. And sure enough, Maxxine forces Buster Keaton to strip, makes him fillet her gun, and then, stomps on the man's nuts. And you see the stomping on the man's nuts in all of its bloody glory.
Testicular hematoma. Both.
It's gone. Those boys are gone.
Yeah. There's no fixing those.
And watch, that is where I'm going to put our ad for Manscaped. right in there.
Even if you get your ball stomped on, you can still use your Manscaped for your pubes above your dick.
That's right. Call them what you want. Knee knockers, thigh slappers, golden nuggets. But our friends over at Manscaped refer to them as the boys. Not every man has children, but every man is responsible for their 2 boys below the waist. And when your little guys have a little bit more hair than they need, trust Manscaped for all their grooming needs. Boys need love too, so join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com and use the code CINEMA20 to get 20% off and free shipping. You heard it first here. The boys are back in town. Now, John, it's been a little tiny bit hot.
You ain't just whistling Dixie.
Yeah. It's been a little hot here in Pittsburgh the past week or so. So I'm going to ask you, how are your boys holding up?
Oh, I'll tell you, when it's 300 degrees outside, give or take a temperature or two, it is nice to have as little body hair as possible. And it used to be, before I had Manscaped, I was completely bald on top above my dick. It looked like Patrick Stewart's head, but my balls always looked like an old-timey gold prospector. I don't have to worry about that anymore, because thanks to the Manscaped, I can actually keep my balls pretty shaven, pretty clean. And look, every man knows how scary it is getting that closed down there below the waist. But that is why Manscaped is always so great for those sensitive areas. Introducing the lawnmower family, including the lawnmower 3.0 and the 4.0 and the 5.0 Ultra. Yes, 3 ball trimmers. Isn't that awesome?
It is. It is really awesome. Boys need love too. And for that reason, each trimmer is equipped with skin-safe technology and an LED spotlight and unique features for different grooming needs. Oh, and these babies are waterproof too. Need I say more? For the basic trim, go with the 3.0 and work your way up to the 4.0 and the 5.0 for the ultimate grooming experience.
Take it on the go. Manscaped has you covered. These trimmers come with a travel case and even a travel lock feature to avoid any accidental powering on and off or weird looks at the airport. This right here is the cutting edge of cutting pubes. Upgrade your ball trimmers and your life will follow.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code CINEMA20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code CINEMA20 at manscaped.com for the best your boys have ever looked. Trust Manscaped.
Naked nutty buddies.
All right, so John, you ready to go into some reviews? Because I do have a couple of reviews here.
I'm very excited because I could see this movie being very polarizing.
I tried to, I think I picked some that were kind of like us, where they're like, I liked it, but not so much. So let's look at this first one here, all right? And you, just so the audience knows, John has not seen any of these reviews, right? You haven't seen any of them?
I'm like the magician's assistant. I have not been privy to any of this.
All right. So let's go to our first one here. And it is, That's a Fucking Movie Star.
Yeah.
No, it is. Maxxxine, she does become a fucking movie star.
Boy, I do want to save that for the very end of the episode. So don't let me forget that. I have some questions about the ending to this movie, but yeah, you could say that she became a movie star, but
a fucking movie star, John.
Hacking movie star. But I have some questions pertaining to that. But we'll get to the big Hollywood sign fight blowout at the end.
Okay, cool. Let's go to review number 2. Ty West pays homage to the legendary horror franchises of the past by making a pointless cash grab sequel that not only means nothing, but makes its preceding films worse. Ouch. Oh.
I don't know if I completely agree with that. I don't think that this was a cash grab. There's too much love in this for it to be a cash grab.
Yeah.
Do you believe the hype that they just simply made Pearl like for ha-has and hoo-hoos at the same time they did X?
I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, I do. I do believe them because it makes kind of sense. I think they were like, hey, yeah, we're at the barn. Might as well film the thing here. COVID's happening. Like if COVID wasn't happening, I probably would call bullshit on it. But the truth is that COVID was going on when they were filming X. So it makes sense that, everything was on lockdown. They had minimal people. And if you actually watch the movie Pearl, you notice that most of the scenes are either 1 or 2 people, tops, and that's across the board, or they're solo shots on one person. There's never just a 2 shot. And so that's what I'm saying is it makes sense to me that they were at the location, had the ability to do it. And they were like, you know what? Might as well film it. We got nothing else better to do. So yeah, I buy their marketing jargon.
Okay. So with that said, I think that why not do a trilogy? And I don't see it as, this is another way to make some bucks, because really this type of movie I think it's going to be successful for what it is, but this isn't Beverly Hills Cop 2. This isn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze. This isn't there to make fucking bank. It's, it'll do all right for itself. I have no doubt, because the first 2 did. But yeah, this isn't a cash grab in the sense of, Avatar 2 or something of that nature. I think that they had a love for these characters and wanted to complete the cycle of the story.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. I disagree with this person who left this review. I've seen cash grabs. Pretty much the entire Fast and Furious franchise is in itself a cash grab.
Every Leprechaun sequel.
Every Leprechaun sequel is a cash grab, but you don't go out of your way to make 1985 Los Angeles amidst the Satanic Panic and the Night Stalker terror and put characters in and spend this much time and effort on it to make a cash grab.
Yeah.
I've seen those, and this isn't it. This is someone's love for these characters, as you said, John, and it's someone's love for this time period. And part of me hopes they don't make another one. Part of me hopes that he's just like, yeah, I'm done. You know?
I mean, if we jump to the 90s, then, you know, Maxxine's going to be in her like 40s. And I don't know if that would work for the character, but also Mia Goth. Is it Mia or Mia Goth?
It's Mia Goth.
Mia Goth. She's not going to look like she's in her 40s because it would be like a few years from now. So yeah. I hope that they just leave it at trilogy. A fourth one would be a cash grab, in my opinion.
A fourth one would be a cash grab. The only thing that I could see making that work personally is if they kind of fulfilled the quote unquote prophecy that old Pearl had said in the original X, and that is that one day you'll be like me. And they kind of alluded to that in this film when she's getting her life cast done and she's thinking back to 1979 and she's like, I was beautiful like you once and I lost it all. Like, it would be interesting to see the fall of Maxxine and dealing with ageism in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, we're seeing Maxxine on the upswing of stardom in this film, and seeing what happens to the fall of that might be an interesting take. And in my opinion, it turns Maxxine into the villain. Like, that's the way I would write it.
I mean,
Ty West, if you steal this idea, you owe me like $1 bajillion.
I mean, in a way, you could say Maxxine's a villain anyways, but maybe just less so than others. But yeah, I could just see the montage now. Let's see, the Clinton impeachment, OJ, Tanya Harding, the Menendez brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, remember the 90s?
You know when you would set it? Here's when you would set it. 1999.
Oh, okay. So
that's when you would set it. The greatest year in cinema history, in my opinion.
So she'd be 48 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You're going downhill.
Or as you would say, 100 in Hollywood years.
That's what I'm saying is if they made a fourth one, which now I'm starting to think if they use my idea, it will actually be really good, that it would have to be set in 1999. And amidst again, I consider 1999 one of the greatest years in film history ever, with so many great films that came out. But yeah, exploring what happens to a star when they're falling. Who knows? But with that said, let's get to our third review here.
All right.
This gets half a point because the blood and kills did hit a certain 80s slasher that I truly needed after watching the crap bomb of a movie, Longlegs.
Oh.
Overall disappointing, though, for this to be the ending of the trilogy. X really gave what needed to be given. Pearl was an I disagree with that totally. And This was an okay, it's the end of the set vibes. Nothing too exciting, okay, but also Halsey's accent in this movie, I guess that's crying emoji. Why? That's all. I forgot Halsey was in this. I don't know.
Who was Halsey? Was Halsey was she the Peep Show friend? I actually don't know Halsey.
I don't know. I'm old.
Yeah.
According to the gray hairs, I'm old. I don't know who that is. Yeah. But yeah, was she one of the ones who dies?
Yeah. She's either the one getting taken to Pound Town or at the beginning, or the one who works with her at the Peep Show. I can't remember. I think it's probably the Peep Show one.
Probably the Peep Show one. Yeah, I disagree with this guy too. I didn't get the vibe that this was. Yeah, it was. I'm looking at this right now because I've got Wikipedia open. Halsey was Tabby Martin, a porn star, and Maxxine's friend. So I think there might have been the blonde.
Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't hate this, and I didn't get the vibe that it was, the last one.
I think that a lot of people love to either get their expectations too high or already have decided that they don't like something. I think X surprised all of us, which is like, oh, this is not only a really good horror movie, but it was a fun horror movie, but still had like a lot of frightening imagery, but like just, it kind of hit all the marks for like, what a fun time with horror, and then Pearl came out and it was like all the hoopla around the fact that like, oh man, we got a trailer for Pearl right after X because they were shooting them simultaneously. Like, you build up the hype, and sometimes, yes, the hype doesn't live up to it. Like, say, X-Men: The Last Stand or The Dark Knight Rises. I was so pumped for both of those, and it wasn't that I had built it up too much in my head. They just weren't as good, especially Last Stand. But I think that some people were never going to be satisfied with this movie, because I think that they built up the expectation so high, or they wanted the entire time to be disappointed in this movie.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've noticed that certain fans of certain franchises, unfortunately, can never be pleased.
Here's a perfect example. I watch a show on Amazon. I'm not special in this. A lot of people do, called The Boys.
I love that show.
And all I'll say is that season 4, my God, I've never seen such polarization with this show. And I think it's because of all the hype from the first 3 seasons. Some people can never be satisfied. But again, some people just want to be disappointed or hate watch.
I watched the last season as well, John, and I don't see what people were upset about. Like, yeah. I got it. Like, I'm like, this is the same thing as the last 3. Did you not watch the last 3? Because I watched the last 3. And I'm like, This is the same stuff.
Well, and if you can give reason argument, not just say it's not as good or it's stupid now, like that's not critique. Like, I could give you, and this isn't the show, but I could give you reasons that The Walking Dead and Dexter both just absolutely like imploded on themselves.
Dexter especially. What the minute the Trinity Killer died, that's when it died. The whole series just done.
I like season 5, but I'm a weirdo.
You are a weirdo, because most people are like me. They're like, the minute the Trinity Killer died, that's when the show Dexter died.
but yeah, but this, I don't think there's any reason to say that Maxxxine like is just like, oh, ruins the franchise. It's the same feel as the other 3. It's the most over the top of the 3, but so are the 80s as compared to what the 30s and the 70s. Yeah.
Oh no, it's looking at the 30s and the 70s. Well, actually, no. Pearl takes place in the teens, and the teens, because it's in the middle of World War I ending and the Spanish flu. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing is Ty West is showing us his love of this cinema from this certain age, and there are tropes that are followed in these films that we see, and you either love it or hate it. If you buy into it, then you're fine. If you go into it being like, man, it's not the same as X, or it's not the same as Pearl, it's like, well, then you're just not in. You don't get what this filmmaker's trying to do. And I mean, there are people out there who will always hate watch stuff. I personally went to go see the Nightmare on Elm Street remake back whenever the fuck that movie came out, because I personally wanted to hate watch it. I personally wanted to be like, I fucking hate every single frame.
Yeah.
You did the same thing.
RoboCop.
Yeah, you did it with RoboCop. I wanted to hate watch it, and I enjoyed my hate watching, so I could come out and go like, who the fuck do these people think they are?
Exactly.
That was it.
How dare you remake
How
RoboCop,
dare you
sons of bitches? I'm like, there's nothing you can do that's going to please me.
Yeah. So I get completely the idea of hate watching a movie and hate watching a TV show and getting enjoyment out of the hate watch. But I also think that there are some movies that's not really warranted. And I don't put Maxxxine, X, or Pearl in those categories at all. or The Boys. That makes no sense to me. Why The Boys? I've seen the same comments, John, you've seen, and I'm just like, are they not watching the same show that I'm watching? Because I see the same stuff that I saw over the past 3 seasons.
Yeah.
But with that said, let's get to our final review from the good old Letterboxd.
All right.
I felt they baited horror films into watching this by mentioning the Night Stalker just for it to have no relevance to the storyline. 2, storyline was all over the place. It felt like someone telling me a story. I can tell they are adding random, ridiculous details in lull.
All right, 2 things there.
Okay.
Let me start with the first thing that they said. The Night Stalker was a red herring. You know, we were meant to believe that possibly the killer in this movie could be the Night Stalker, but it was also to give atmosphere to the world in which the movie is being shown in. But, you know, when we see the guy in the leather outfits, it's like, oh, God, is that the Night Stalker? Could that be, you know, there are allowed to be red herrings in movies. But the second part, I can't completely disagree with, you know, the reviewer on that sense. It reminded me of a little bit of, who's the energy drink and a cowboy hat as a director? Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were gonna say Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah,
it's like you're watching a Spy Kids movie, is what you're saying.
Yeah, or any number of his, like, what, you know, his Once Upon a Time in Mexico, or any number of his, you know, movies that he did. But yeah,
you can't piss on Desperado. I love Desperado.
It wasn't made for $7,000. He can kiss my ass.
That's Mariachi. Mariachi was made.
Yes.
Mariachi. Desperado was made for more than $700,000.
Oh no, didn't he say Mariachi was made? Yeah, I got it wrong. But Mariachi was made for $7,000.
That is what he said. He said $7,000. I call bullshit on that.
Horseshit.
I call bullshit on that.
Yeah.
It's really good to sell books, by the way, to say I made a movie for $7,000. But no, I don't think anyone in their right mind is like, yes, you managed to make a movie on film.
Yeah. Where'd you
buy
$7,000?
Stock? Where'd you buy your film stock from? And the processing of that.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I think you forgot a zero somewhere in there.
You forgot a zero there. Probably 70,000. That makes more sense to me. I buy that for $1. Speaking of RoboCop. But yeah, I mean, I disagree with this guy. I don't think it was a bait and switch. I think that it was atmosphere. And I don't even think it's a red herring because, as you said earlier in the episode, John, we know who the bad guy is in the first frame.
Are we supposed to know? I mean,
Tough.
do you think
we do?
Yeah, but do you think he was like piss and vinegar? I didn't mean for everybody to know, because even scenes later on, after the two of her friends are like, I'm going up to the mysterious house in the hills. You have to take a gondola for some mysterious new producer in town. There's a big party. And then there's VHS, like a snuff film of them being like kidnapped or held at ransom. And then they go to this big green door in this mansion, and 2 guys who look like they're Mormons are holding this girl. You don't see their faces, but they're wearing like the black tie and the white short sleeve t-shirts, the button down shirts. And I'm like, these are clearly members of a church.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe don't dress them up in church if it's supposed to be some big reveal. I mean, is it supposed to be a reveal, or is it just supposed to be obvious the whole time? I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. And if we're talking about a filmmaker who loves movies from this time period, John, I got to ask you, how many crappy horror movies have we watched where it is dead obvious that the killer is the killer, right? In the first couple frames. There are tons of movies that I can think of where that has happened, especially the bargain bin horror video nasties, not trademark because you didn't trademark it, type of movie, right? Like we've seen those where it's so obvious. So maybe he did it on purpose. Maybe he did. I personally would have not have done that. That's one stylistic choice I would have held off on. I would have taken that first little Super 8 thing that we see. I would have taken it out because that right there gives it all away.
But then there's like, when it's the surprise at the end, quote unquote surprise, that it's her dad, there was no setup for that.
Well, here's the thing. And this is where you can kind of go, yeah, there kind of was. Because I remember in X, there was that commercial with the dad talking about losing his daughter, Maxxxine, while it's playing on in the background. I think there was a scene where that was there. So we're already hinted at that Maxxxine has this backstory. And so I guess you could kind of say like, well, that kind of gave us the idea of who this person is. But I just think that it makes more sense that you don't know until the very end, because it is more of a surprise, and it's set up to try to be a surprise with the whole, you get his black hands and the gloved hands, which is very Giallo-esque. Good job, Ty West, on that. But, you know, once you do see that Super 8 footage again towards the end, you're just like, oh, well, here we go. It's the dad. And there you go. It's the dad. Like, it's not a surprise, and it's not an earned reveal, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. A couple of and I guess at this point of the review, I hope that, dear watchers, that you, or listeners or watchers, that you have seen the film, because I just want to talk about a couple of specific things about the film, Brian. What did you
you
make
said you wanted to get to the ending too. You wanted to talk about the ending.
Yeah, we will get there. But what do you make of just the psycho mansion being in this movie and the hotel?
I think it is, again, a love letter from the filmmaker to the movie Psycho. Like, there are so many of those in this. Doesn't make much sense to me why it's there. Like, but I mean, okay, fine. It does fit with the time period. They filmed Psycho, what was it, 2 and 3, roughly around this time?
Mm-hmm. And if it's supposed to be, I don't think they wanted to name an actual studio just to avoid.
No, they didn't.
But I know they did at least 4 at Universal.
Yeah.
The made-for-TV one. You know,
that's what I'm saying. And clearly what we're seeing is the made-for-TV Psycho. That's you're not seeing the original Psycho house. That's the made-for-TV one. But, yeah, I mean, I get why it's there. I kind of look at it as like, all right, that's a cool backdrop, I guess. What other things would you put in, though, in a movie about Hollywood horror movies other than Psycho, though? Like, what sort of set would you put in to try to put that there? Like, that, it makes sense why it's there.
Especially since a lot of very iconic horror movies were not sets, you know, like look at Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Those were not, you know, those were shot, you know, pretty indie style in real locations. But yeah.
So, and it would be odd if, let's say, like, they had, instead of the Psycho house, they had the, you know, Freddy Krueger's house. You know, it would be a little odd because we know that that's a real house. You know what I mean?
And they would have to have, it would have been like, didn't they just shoot that movie last year? They sure did. They haven't torn down the sets yet.
Yes. Yeah.
But another thing, what do you make of her agent just like on a dime turning into this fucking mob boss?
I mean, it fits with Gus Fring's character. It fits with the
he's Gus Fring forever. Yeah.
He is Gus Fring forever. Giancarlo Esposito can do no wrong as shifty, villainous characters. I feel bad for him because the man probably is like, I don't want to play another shifty, villainous type character, but he's so good at it. And he's not a bad guy, kinda. He just has, you know, connections with people.
I mean, okay, so in this movie, our main character, Maxxxine, refuses to go to the mansion of what we later find out to be her father. Surprise! Not really. And she has to pay the price through Kevin Bacon. And after Kevin has been trying to chase her down for this long, long time, Maxxxine gets Kevin Bacon in a trap via, you know, her agent and a couple of goons and some dogs, which, by the way, Brian, I think that they had a scene where the dogs eat Kevin Bacon and then they kind of forgot about it. But they're like, hey, we paid for these dogs, so let's just get some pork belly and cover it in fake blood, and we'll have the dogs eat the remains of Kevin Bacon because we paid for these dogs to be on set. So we might as well get our money's worth.
One thing I love about the trap, and this is, I don't know if it reminded you of this movie, but I totally got Fright Night vibes from that dance, like the dance party that Maxxine traps him in.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, this is fucking Fright Night, man. The whole sequence where Dandridge gets he steals Marcy from Married with Children. I'm like, this is 100% this, and also a movie that came out in 1985. But yeah, traps him, and then does what to him, John?
They put him in a car compactor with him tied inside the car, and just gives him a little smushy smush, like give him a little car compactor hug. And
I'm be honest with you, I thought they were gonna stop.
Yeah, like get some information out of him or something.
Yes, I thought they were gonna stop, but I'm like, no, this is Maxxine and Gus Fring. They're not going to stop, are they? And they don't stop.
Like, yeah, it's just apparently it's time for Kevin Bacon to bow out, you know?
In the most wet way possible, because you literally see the car squish and all the blood and goo just come right out the bottom. It's a classic scene. But yeah, no, I would say it's funny because you're just like, wow, Giancarlo Esposito, Gus Fring, really will do anything for his clients, including murder.
I guess that's like it. Los Angeles in the 80s, right? So cutthroat. Yeah. We will kill private eyes.
I will kill private eyes for you. No, I loved it, and I wish we had more of him in this. Honestly, like him and Kevin Bacon are great characters because they're so over the top, and that is the one thing. The other part that I wanted to mention is that the other characters, though, you know, that we're supposed to kind of care about who end up getting killed, they're so flat and so underdeveloped that I don't really care that they die. Like her buddy, Leon, who's the video store employee.
At least he like has a couple of lines. Like
but
her two female friends just die.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like everyone else outside of say her agent and Kevin Bacon, you know, they exist to be killed. And you don't really know anything about them. You don't really care that they die. Like I was like, oh well, yeah, our friend died. That sucks. But that's the one thing that I think was missing from this is trying to put more into those secondary characters. Whereas if you look at X, which has a lot of characters in there, okay, you've got like the big porn director, you've got the cameraman / editor who's got what's her face and Wednesday Addams, you know, you've got all these other characters, and we all have moments with those characters where we get to kind of like know who the fuck they are, and so when they do die, we care. And that's the problem with this, is that outside of Maxxine, Giancarlo Esposito, and Kevin Bacon, I don't really give two fucks about anybody else in this movie and what happens to them.
I guess the two detectives get a little bit of development.
Yeah, you realize that Bobby Carnival wanted to be an actor instead of a detective.
Yeah,
like
everybody else in that.
Yeah,
town,
you're in Los Angeles in 1985. Of course you did.
Yeah.
And Michelle Monaghan is in there as a detective who she's just detecting. Like they're still paper thin characters. And I think that's my one big criticism of this, is that where Ty West spends a lot of time on Maxxine and developing this world that she lives in and the circumstances that she has to overcome, he doesn't spend a lot of time at all with these side characters. And maybe that's by design. I don't know. But I think that is to the film's detriment.
I could see that. Yeah, I could totally see that. Before we get to the ending, Brian, what do you make of this movie being actively anti-religious?
I love it.
Me too.
100%. I am not a religious person by any stretch of the imagination, and I love that this movie is a giant middle finger to religion. Like I really love it. And it's not anything against anyone who does have beliefs. If you do believe in something, good for you, great. I personally don't. I mean, I'm more agnostic than anything. I don't pretend to know. I love that this is a giant middle finger. to religion.
And the hypocrisy of,
Oh yeah.
of religion. And I love the idea that this guy is her father is so crazy, which we'll get to his performance in a second, that he thinks he can make movies about murdering people, and it's going to be a documentary that brings people back to the church.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, that's called a snuff tape of your murders.
That's a snuff tape of your murders. That's what that is. That's not a documentary. That's called evidence.
Well, speaking of her character, of her father, Brian, we thought Kevin Bacon was chewing the scenery. This guy loses his fucking mind. I mean, I guess Ty West was like, sure, go like on a scale of 1 to 10, go to 30 in your performance. Because
yeah, I gotta say, like, this guy is fucking nuts. He's an insane person. The actor's name is Simon Prost. Have I pronounced that correctly? Prostate,
whatever. Something.
Prostate. And yeah, the information is, hey, you are a televangelist crazy person in the mid 80s. Go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
That's the motivation. Go nuts. And I'm not surprised. This man has a theater background, and you can tell right off the bat, you can tell this man has acted on stage, because he gives the most like insane, crazy pants performance that I've seen in a long time, outside of a Rob Zombie film.
Yeah,
that's the last time I saw crazy pants performances is when we watched The Munsters.
But or as Sideshow Bob would do in the Cape Fear episode. But so yeah, getting to the ending where I have questions. So we get to the point where the detectives have followed Maxxine up to what ends up being a fake exorcism on her daddy's snuff tape, with a bunch of his members of his church that are now willing to die and kill for him no matter what. That's faith right there. And the police arrive right before he can brand his own daughter, and a huge gunfight breaks out. The house is apparently like right under the Hollywood sign. The detectives run up after Maxxine's dead. Maxxine follows. Both detectives get shot. Maxxine goes up to her dad. A helicopter is flying, and you hear Maxxine drop the weapon. Maxxine, it's over. Is everything after that moment, is she an unreliable narrator? Is everything a figment of her imagination, or is that actually what occurred after that moment?
I think there are some elements that are not real in that ending. First of all, if Maxxine really did shoot her dad dead with a police helicopter right above her, she too would be shot and killed.
Yeah. Or at the bare minimum, sentenced to prison.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. She too would be shot and killed. I'm going with she would be shot and killed. Okay. Because I'm going with the idea that those police officers are dead. The helicopter probably knows that it's a hostile situation, so they're already primed to shoot on sight. So I'm looking at it as like they see Maxxine blow her dad's head off, they're shooting her dead because they don't know what's going on next.
You can't defend himself.
Yeah.
And
clearly here's the thing. Clearly the only people who know what's going on are Maxxine and the dead detectives.
Yeah.
So that means any third party coming out, like the helicopter, they don't know that Maxxine isn't the killer. All they see is this woman just blew this guy's head off. So I think part of that is unreliable narrator syndrome. I don't know if she becomes a gigantic star the way that she imagines it. I think more than likely, maybe she did survive. Maybe she didn't go to jail. Maybe it, whatever. Maybe the evidence of that documentary that he was filming was enough to get her off or whatever. Who knows? But
no pun intended. Sorry, this movie has a lot of porn reference. So
there's a lot of porn reference in this. But I think the idea of her coming back to the set of Puritan 2 and starting her work, I think that is real. I do. I think that part
the movie
is real.
premiere is that fake?
I don't think that's real. No, I think that is all in her head. I think the interview she has is all in her head. But I do think the moment when she comes back to the set of the movie, because you got to figure like maybe it was a good like month or so before she was cleared and got back to the set, you know? So I'm thinking that part is probably real, but I don't buy that, you know, the rights of her story were turned into a movie. I don't buy that she's doing 60 Minutes. I don't buy that she's going to, I don't buy that. I think that's in her head, you know, but I do think her starting back on the set of the Puritan 2 is real. I think that is that ending is real.
But how did she get, so we see her cutting lines of coke with her Screen Actors Guild card, but if she hasn't finished the Puritan 2, how did she get her SAG card?
I don't know.
Damn it, Tyler.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, according to a couple of the reviewers that we've looked at, they, you know, said the plot's kind of paper thin, which I kind of agree with them to some extent.
Yeah.
No, I think that kind of playing into the fever dream that is this movie, that ending does kind of fit because she does in some degree become famous, even if it is not necessarily the way that we see it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't think she's dead. I don't think she's killed. I think that she just goes back to working on the Puritan 2 and where her star takes her from there, or maybe in an X, what would this be? 3 or 4, a fourth in this franchise. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if we didn't cut back to the set, I think that you could make the assumption that she was killed and these are like her last flash of memory, not memories, but just like of her dreams, you know, vanished. But, you know, we do cut back to the set, I think, obviously to keep her alive. And I do love the final image of her head cast just on the bed, showing that everything, you know, in this world is fake, including, you know, fame and stardom. It's all just fake.
Well, it very much does lead into the idea of, is this whole ending fake, right? Mm-hmm. Like that right there, maybe that is Ty West being like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, not everything here is real.
Yeah.
And don't take it for verbatim, you know? But yeah, no, I like the ending for the most part, the ending. The whole shootout thing, the whole thing with the exorcism with the dad, I think is stupid. Personally, I'm just like, it's as I mentioned earlier, it's an unearned confrontation. We knew the dad was going to show up the whole time. It was obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, but
it goes balls to the wall, but then so doesn't the rest of this movie.
It does. I get that. And I get why they went that way. That's for this character the only way you probably could make this character's arc happen. We saw that dad in not advertisement, but you know, in the news in 1979 in X. So sure, we've introduced that character. They've got to make some sort of comeback in this. So I get that, but it just, you know, if they just took out that 16 millimeter thing at the beginning, I wouldn't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it gives it all away. So, well, good talk, John. Good talk. And I'm glad we got to put our film nerd hats on. I mean, we put our film nerds hat on all the time, but keep in mind, like, the last episode we did was on fucking Breen, and boy, oh boy, like, that just takes it all out of you. So to couple it with X, well, not X, but Maxxxine is it's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, those aren't reviews when it comes to Neil Breen. Those are just nightmares that we have to interpret to like our therapists, which is each other. Yeah.
Well, here's the fun thing, John, and I didn't tell you this, but our episode on Cade the Torture Crossing is doing gangbusters above beyond even what I thought. I think right now, we're at like 71 downloads for audio, but on video, we are almost at 1,000. I kid you not. And so that's to you all. Thank you for sitting through our therapy session.
We watch it so you don't have to.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We watch it so you don't have to. If we ever go to strictly bad movies, John, in this show, that's what that's what our tagline's gonna be.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad to see that people are liking the YouTube versions that we put out there, and that they're still listening to the audio stuff. You know, we're really trying our best to kind of hit both those audiences. So, and that goes to say, if there are movies that, hey, like you're like, hey, Brian and John, can you please do this one? I really love this movie. Let us know, and we'll do them. You know.
Word.
But with that said, John, where can they find you at on the internets?
You can find me over Instagram and Facebook, and I will finally be jumping back into Jada's Video Nasties as I have finished my short film, and it is hitting the festival circuit as we speak. So now I can kind of get back to life as usual and start going back to working on. I think next up will be, because I've already shot Manhattan, but I think that can just sit on the bench for a little bit. I want to get something a little summary out, so I'm going to hit up So Many Questions, The Dark Knight Rises.
Good episode there. I can already tell you that one. Now, I'm going to ask you, are you going to go and film that one at sets in Pittsburgh? Because that was filmed in town.
Oh.
So technically, you could film in front of Blackgate Prison. Or I wouldn't film in the bathtub, if you know. So the scene where Bruce Wayne says, "I'm taking over the bay." Yeah, that's actually a highway in the middle of downtown Pittsburgh called the Bathtub, and John couldn't film there because he'd be killed by cars.
Yeah.
Or Yinzers yelling, "Get on the street, you jack off!" Like those sorts of things would be yelled at him.
I could do it right outside that building in Oakland.
That's what I'm saying. That's Blackgate Prison.
Oh, that is Blackgate. Yeah.
Also known as the Mellon Institute.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could go film it there. That's what I would do. If I were you, I would do that. That's really cool. That's really cool. With that said, if you have liked this episode, do me a favor. Tell your friends about it. Okay? Seriously. Share this episode with your friends. Maybe you've got a friend who loves movie X. Maybe you just saw Maxxxine with your buddies and you're like, hey, go check out this review I just watched or listened to. It does a lot for us if you share this with like-minded people, with people who are like us, film nerds who love to talk about movies. Outside of that, do me a favor. Go to cinemapsychoshow.com/follow. And you can follow our podcast on all the different podcast applications that are out there. We got little buttons for Spotify. We got little buttons for Apple. We got little buttons for all of them. They're all there. Just click on the buttons there. And if you are watching us on YouTube, why aren't you subscribing? Hit the little subscribe button. Hit the bell. Hit the thumbs up. All those sorts of things help this podcast out and help grow us to reach out beyond where we're at now. And that's what we want to do, is reach out beyond where we're at now. So with that said, thank you, and we will see you next time.
Brian, if the fourth one takes place at the end of the 90s, it's going to have to be Maxxxine 2000.